The NFL draft is over, which means the running back rankings have changed in fantasy football. In today's show, we're diving into the top 30 and see who comes in behind Saquon Barkley. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone is doing well out there today, we're diving in to my top 30 running back rankings here post NFL draft. Now, like we always say, we really want to update rankings throughout the offseason. Find a good baseline and then continue to build on that as we get closer to the NFL season. Now, this week on the channel, we're going to be doing running back, wide receiver, and our top 50 overall rankings videos. So if you're not subscribed already, now is the time to do so. Now, when I'm going through these rankings, if it starts to get the fantasy football juices flowing, you need to be sure to get yourself a 2025 fantasy football draft guide. It's got more than just rankings, sleepers, breakouts, busts, the perfect draft, Kyle's DRBR. There is so much information, and if you don't get it in your hands, your league mates will, and you'll probably end up losing. So head over to tfhdraftguide.com right now, links down below in the description, and let's go ahead and dive in to our top 30 running backs. We're going to start off right here in Tier 1. And when we pull up Tier 1, we got the likes of Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Derrick Henry. For Saquon Barkley, I get the whole he finished first last year. There's no way he goes back-to-back this year type of argument. But the difference is these Tier 1 running backs, the difference between them is so minimal. These four guys all finished over 300 fantasy points in 2024. They were the only running backs to do that, so Saquon, as of right now, remains on top. Then we got Bijan Robinson, and I'm assuming Michael Penix is going to be the man in 2025. He makes the overall offense better. In the last 3 games of 2024 in which he started, we saw Bijan Robinson go out and score at least 23 fantasy points in each of those 3 games, and he had 6 touchdowns over that 3-game span. He could be in line for a huge season. How about Jahmyr Gibbs? Whether it's with or without Monty, he's still been a top 4 fantasy running back in Detroit. Sure, there's a new offensive coordinator in Detroit, but there is no reason to think that we're in for some drastic changes in this Detroit offense with Dan Campbell still at the top. And then we round out Tier 1 with Derrick Henry. What has really changed in Baltimore to think that Derrick Henry isn't going to have a similar type year in 2025 that we saw in 2024. He could still score 50 fantasy points less than last year and still would have finished inside the top 4 at the position. That's why I'm keeping him up inside Tier 1. So now let's move on to Tier 2, where we have Josh Jacobs, Ashton Jeanty, Devon Achane, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Chase Brown, and James Cook. Now for Josh Jacobs, we all know that Green Bay has a crap ton of young wide receiver options, but that's only going to open up the run game more and more for Josh Jacobs. Tons of touchdown opportunities in this offense should be there again in 2025, so he finds himself right here at the top of Tier 2. Then we got the stud rookie in Las Vegas, Ashton Jeanty, the wild card of 2025. It's really hard to pass on him, but it's also really hard to trust him this early in fantasy football drafts. Now, the offensive line in Las Vegas is solid, but the overall offense could struggle and really limit touchdown opportunities. Plus, they did bring in Raheem, not quite a must-start Mostert, and he could end up vulturing a few touchdowns this season. If that happens, we'll see the yardage, but we may not see that overall high ceiling just due to a lack of touchdowns. Then we got Devon Achane in Miami. Now, if Tua stays healthy, Achane is a top 5 option at the position. If he doesn't stay healthy, then Devon Achane is barely a top 20 running back in fantasy football. The volume is going to be there. The offense provides scoring chances, and we already know he has the big playability. The biggest gamble, it really rests on the availability of Tua Tagovailoa. Then we got Bucky Irving in Tampa Bay. Didn't really get an opportunity until week 6 last season, but from week 6 on, he was the running back 8 overall in fantasy football and half PPR scoring. The passing game is absolutely loaded in Tampa Bay. Baker is putting up points on the board. Now, we do have a new offensive coordinator because Liam Cohen is gone to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars, so the biggest thing we need to hope for here is that Rachaad White doesn't get a larger role role to start the season. Then we go down to Jonathan Taylor. If it wasn't for the yearly injuries, he would probably be higher on this list. The Colts still have a top 10 offensive line, and we know that Jonathan Taylor is going to get the touches, but he's missed 16 games over the last 3 seasons, and that really makes it tough to draft him as high as you have to. How about Kyren Williams? It's a contract year, and with the youth LA brought in between Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter, this may be time for Kyren to show out so he can get another contract on another team. This offense is perfect to do it as well. I'm looking for Kyren Williams to have a big season once again. How about number 11? This is Christian McCaffrey, the yearly question that is CMC. If he plays and you get him at the discount that you're getting him at this year, you're in title contention. If you draft him this early and he misses most of the season, you're probably going to be struggling to make the playoffs. Personally, I only draft him in the second round if I got a stud in the first round as well. If you really want Christian McCaffrey, then go running back heavy early in your drafts. Be sure to have plenty of RB depth. Then, if for some reason he does miss time, you have plenty of other options on your roster. How about Chase Brown in Cincinnati? He's really an off-season winner for the most part. He only has Zach Moss and Samaje Perine in the backfield, and we know that he is so much better than both of those guys. It's a high-powered offense, but this offensive line is not the best. There is going to be some risk here for Chase Brown, but we saw what the potential could be just last year. And then we round out tier 2 with James Cook. He's about as safe as you can get for a low-end RB1 to a high-end RB2. He's one of the biggest playmakers in Buffalo. Now, touchdowns more than likely are going to regress some here in 2025, but not enough for him to be at least a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. Plus, it's a contract year this year as well for James Cook. Which will take us to tier 3. It's Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Breece Hall, Chuba Hubbard, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, and David Montgomery. Now for Alvin Kamara, I really didn't expect things to get worse in New Orleans than they were last year. Then Derek Carr comes out and retires, and the Saints may have the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Now because of that, I expect Alvin Kamara to get all kinds of volume and tons of checkdowns. He finished as the RB10 overall on the season last year, despite missing the last 3 games of the year, and don't forget Derek Carr missed time last year as well. Now a lot of people don't have him this high in their rankings, but I don't see how they don't use him a crap ton with the quarterbacks that they have. How about Kenneth Walker next? Geno is gone, and now we have Sam Darnold. Now it's not like it's some huge downgrade there, but the change to Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator is going to put an emphasis here on the running game, plus another guy who's playing for their next contract. It is a contract year for Kenneth Walker. Joe Mixon, his last 8 games, he only went over 50 yards 1 time, and once again here in 2025, this offensive line is not great. Now, if Mixon can stay healthy and Stroud can bounce back, Mixon has a chance to be what we saw the start of 2024, but due to that risk, he's down here in tier 3. How about Breece Hall next? Do all the changes in New York allow Breece to bounce back? So hard to just trust the Jets though. They just seem to disappoint every single year. Now, if Justin Fields can find any success throwing the ball downfield, Breece Hall has a chance at a decent year, but that's a big if here in 2025. Then we move down to Chuba Hubbard in Carolina, another guy who's going to be a big mystery. He was a huge offseason winner for me here at first. He got his contract extended at the end of last year, and he played well in 2024. Then they brought in Rico Dowdle, and they drafted Trevor Etienne. Now, Carolina has a solid offensive line, but how are the touches going to be split in this backfield? I still expect Chuba Hubbard to be their number 1 option. We just may not see those games where he's seeing 25 plus touches very often. He's still right here in tier 3. Then we got DeAndre Swift, and he dodged bullets all offseason. He has a new head coach in Ben Johnson. He has the most improved offensive line in the NFL. Tons of offensive weapons and tons of touchdown chances are coming this season. I really expect him and Roschon Johnson to get the bulk of the touches in this backfield. And if Ben Johnson can turn that duo into anything close to what we saw in Detroit with Gibbs and Monty, we could see DeAndre Swift as a pleasant surprise in 2025. Then we got James Conner, and this really comes down to nothing but health. When he plays, he produces. He's missed 11 games in his 4 years in Arizona, though. This offense barely changed this offseason, though, so really no reason to think that James Conner isn't a mid to low end RB2 at worst. Then we move down to David Montgomery, and I've said it for multiple years, and it will ring true once again in 2025. Monty is a rock-solid RB2 that's going to have touchdown chances almost every single week. The ceiling, just a little bit lower since Jahmyr Gibbs is on another stratosphere right now, which then only leaves us tier 4, where we got Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Tyrone Tracy, RJ Harvey, Quinshawn Judkins, Omarion Hampton, Brian Robinson Jr., Javonte Williams, and Najee Harris. For Aaron Jones, the dude just had 1,500 total yards and 7 touchdowns, and no one really seems to like him. And it's really because they brought in Jordan Mason this offseason. Now, I am a Jordan Mason truther. If you've been here for more than a year, I told people about him last offseason. But Aaron Jones is still going to be the guy in this offense to start the season. To me, the bigger worry is the quarterback change in Minnesota. Can JJ McCarthy find enough success down the field to pull defenders outside of the box so Aaron Jones a low-end RB2 at RB22? How about Tony Pollard next? He has a new QB, a franchise QB in Cam Ward, an improved offensive line, more outside wide receiver options, and he's coming off his 3rd straight season with at least 1,300 total yards. The biggest question here for me is Tajay Spears. What is his role in this offense, and can he even stay healthy? Because if he does stay healthy and he does carve out a role, we're going to see a lower ceiling for Tony Pollard. Then we got Tyrone Tracy Jr. of the New York Giants, and I'm really torn on what to do with Tracy. I love the offensive upgrades here for the Giants. Devin Singletary doesn't really bother me, and even though they spent a mid-round pick on Scat there in the backfield, I think he's more of a future option and not somebody who's going to take over this backfield. He really could earn a role, but not enough to take away from Tyrone Tracy early in the season, in my opinion. Then we go to rookie running back RJ Harvey in Denver, a backfield that really had no real starter, and then Javonte Williams left and went to Dallas. They spent a 2nd-round pick on Harvey, and that has to mean that he's going to get the first crack at this backfield. Now, they still have Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin. They still may get some work, but Harvey's in line to be one of the rookie running backs that gets the most immediate volume. Then we got another rookie in Quinshawn Judkins for Cleveland. Now, Cleveland doesn't spend a 2nd-round pick on a running back if they believed in Jerome Ford to be their number 1 guy, who is still on the roster. Judkins may have the largest immediate role of all rookie running backs aside from Ashton Jeanty. The offensive line, though, in Cleveland, it's just not as strong as it used to be, so that's why he's a little bit lower in these rankings. Then, another rookie, Omarion Hampton in LA. Now, I absolutely love this kid. I live in North Carolina. I know a lot about Omarion Hampton, and I have a feeling I'm going to be overdrafting the heck out of him in 2026. Not in 2025, though, because Najee is still there. He's going to have a role. He's only in LA on a 1-year deal. In my opinion, this year, going to be a little bit of a headache. Whose backfield is it going to be each and every week? The roles could definitely change. Who finds the end zone each and every week? That could be a toss-up. In my opinion, Hampton is the future, but a little bit more risky in 2025. Now, after him, we got Brian Robinson Jr., another guy that would be higher if he could just stay on the field more consistently. This offense is going to be really good in Washington, though, but we can't forget that Austin Eckler is still there and going to have a role in this backfield as well. Then we move down to Javonte Williams, now in Dallas. Now, do I love this? Not really. They also brought in Miles Sanders and they drafted Jaden Blue. And on top of that, we know that Javonte Williams hasn't really been the same since he suffered some of those major injuries in years past. But with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens both on the outside, boxes will not be loaded and Javonte Williams could have a decent opportunity at some solid volume to start the season. Then we round out tier 4, number 30, it's Najee Harris of now the Los Angeles Chargers. More than likely, he is a one and done in LA, so he's going to be playing for a new contract somewhere else. He just may not get enough touches weekly to rely upon any higher than this ranking right here. We know Omarion Hampton's going to have a role in this offense. He's too good not to. But I can't imagine they brought in Najee Harris in free agency and then they're just not going to use him at all in 2025. Now, because I know you guys are a little bit greedy, I have my next 5 guys on the outside looking in. It's Jaylen Warren, Travis Etienne, Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, and Travion Henderson. Now, for Jaylen Warren, we know that Najee left and Warren was in line to be the man in this backfield, but then they went out and drafted Caleb Johnson. Now, yes, in my opinion, Jaylen Warren is still going to be the leader in this backfield backfield, but how good is this offense? As of right now, it's still being led by Mason Rudolph. They don't have a whole lot of options outside of DK Metcalf on offense. The touchdown opportunities really aren't going to be there. So in a below average offense that's still being coached by Arthur Smith, I can't put him any higher as of right now. Then we got Travis Etienne in Jacksonville, and something has to give in this backfield with new head coach Liam Cohen, an offensive-minded head coach. I still believe Etienne is better than Tank Bigsby. There's just so much unknown that I can't put him up inside the top 30. Then we have Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City. It's a contract year, but as of right now, Kareem Hunt is still on the roster, and there's really no reason for us to think that he still won't have a similar type role this year that he had last year. Don't forget that Isaiah Pacheco only had 16 total touches in the entire 2024 playoffs. That's just weird that he couldn't get more work, and he really struggled staying 100% healthy. Then lastly, both New England running backs. I got Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. Now for Ramondre, sure, they drafted Henderson, but I don't see a world in where they just totally abandon Ramondre Stevenson. He's going to have a lower ceiling for sure. He's going to remain hit and miss almost every single week. That offensive line, though, is not great. I'm expecting more throwing this year in New England for sure. And then we add in the fact that we do have Travion Henderson, and both of these guys are going to be splitting touches. This backfield could be an absolute headache majority of the year. All right, so there you have your updated running back rankings here post NFL draft. Now, obviously, when it comes to rankings, a lot of people disagree. Disagreements are okay. If your rankings exactly match my rankings, what are we even doing here? Maybe you see things a little bit differently, and that's cool. Let's have a conversation about it, and then together as a team, come up with the best damn rankings in the land so we can dominate the hell out of our opponents in 2025. Now, if you like that idea, do me a favor and hit the like button if you haven't already, and then don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more ranking shows here this offseason. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out for the day. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, and then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.